welcome back to another Film Geek Movie Spotlight. Now, before I get things started, I'd like to just make a quick announcement. As of right now, the building that Charming Amy and I live in is under a bit of a construction. So if you hear any weird bangs and boobs and so on and so forth in the background of my videos, that's just the construction going on. In fact, in a few weeks, maybe around the fall, I believe, Charming Amy and I might be relocated to a different area, so videos might look a little bit different here in the fall. We'll just see how it goes. I might try to just, make up a whole bunch of videos or something before we move. It just really depends on how long this is going on for. Basically, I'm just trying to inform you guys. If you hear a bang or a boom or maybe some voices or something like that muffled in the background, don't worry. It's just the people that are working on the building right now. Okay, now, into the movie spotlight. Today I'm talking about the 1999 film, Bringing Out the Dead.
I hate pronouncing people dead over the phone. Yeah, better, huh? They're fixed and dilated. This guy's plant food.
Hey, we stole the stretcher from X-ray, so put him in 3 next to the overdose, all right?
All right, look, he's our lowest priority now, right? He shouldn't even be here. All this technology would have waste.
Listen to what I'm saying.
Leave that dope alone and have a seat. The doc will be out in a minute.
Sir, is there some way we can
Please, folks, step back. Please, folks, step back. Now, I've already told you two to step back. Now, look, don't make me take off my sunglasses.
Bringing Out the Dead is directed by Martin Scorsese, and it has one hell of a cast. Nicolas Cage, Patricia Arquette, John Goodman, Vin Rames, and Tom Sizemore. An EMT by the name of Frank, played by Nicolas Cage, is haunted by patients he wasn't able to save while he's working over an increasingly turbulent weekend. Bringing Out the Dead was released October 22nd, 1999, and it grossed just over $16.7 million on an estimated $55 million budget. In fact, the critics did like the film a bit, and it's sitting on Rotten Tomatoes at a 72%. In fact, notorious film critic Roger Ebert gave the film an exact 4 stars, a perfect rating, and he had to say this about the film. To look at Bringing Out the Dead, to look, indeed, at almost any Scorsese film, it is to remind us that film can touch us urgently and deeply. Some years later, Scorsese reflected to Ebert that Bringing Out the Dead failed at the box office and was rejected by a lot of critics. Yet he added, "I had 10 years of ambulances, my parents in and out of hospitals, calls in the middle of the night. I was exercising all of that. Those city paramedics are heroes and saints. They're saints. I grew up next to Bowery, watching the people who worked there, the Salvation Army, Dorothy's Days Catholic Worker Movement, all helping the lost souls. They're the same sort of people." Thelma Shoemaker, the editor, praised the movie and said, "It's the only one of his, Scorsese, films, I think, that hasn't gotten its due. It's a beautiful film, but it was hard for people to take. I think unexpected. But I think it's great." So what do I like about this movie? Well, first off, I love Scorsese. Martin Scorsese is in my top 5 directors of all time, easily. Could easily be my number 2, but I haven't really thought about that, really. I just really love his movies, and I know that he's one of my favorite directors. And this movie is really kind of different than a lot of his films. The way that it's done, the way that the film progresses, the use of the city itself is obviously something that Scorsese does a lot. The city is its own character in this film, and I know that is in a lot of his films. But for some reason, in this movie in particular, it really takes on a different light. Like, Scorsese really shows us a completely different side of New York City that I didn't know really existed. And this film is just absolutely gorgeous. The color palette isn't like really bright, it's just the way that it's done. The film just progressively gets more and more manic. Another thing that I love about this film is that how the movie progresses. This movie takes place over the course of a weekend, and Nicolas Cage plays Frank, an EMT, and each night he works with a different partner, and each one of those partners kind of slowly lead into Frank's insanity. So each one has their own vibe and feel. Like, the very beginning of the film is John Goodman, and he's kind of like what you would expect from somebody who's just been doing this job for a long time, just kind of fed up with it, just like, I'm sick of dealing with picking up some drunk just to take them to the hospital, you know, for them to take up a bed and be released at the night, blah, 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 blah. You know, a lot of stuff like that. And then as it gets up to Tom Sizemore, shit gets nuts. And then the filming and the way the film looks and the way the film feels all changes, even down to the music. Like, when everything starts getting totally chaotic and weird, like you're getting hit with a lot of punk rock by The Clash, a lot of like driving kind of guitar songs and everything starts to become kind of cut footage, you know, everything's moving kind of robotic and stuff, and it's just amazing. The film is just an absolute beauty to watch. Now, another thing in this film is the acting. The acting is outstanding, and I'm gonna say Nick Cage. Now, I did a favorite Nick Cage movies a while back. And I'll be honest, when I was making that list, I kind of forgot about this movie. I really did. I completely forgot about this movie. I added this film to my collection from a while ago, and I just kind of forgot about it. I knew the movie existed. I saw it in theaters in 1999, but it was like one of those movies that just kind of went forgotten, and so I forgot it too. One day, I'm at a thrift store looking at movies, and lo and behold, there is Bringing Out the Dead. And I'm like, no way. I forgot about this freaking Scorsese film. And so here we are talking about it now. And so Nick Cage should have been on my top 10 with this movie, because his performance in this is unfreaking believable. Watching his madness from the beginning of the film just go. He starts off as just kind of like a burned out, overworked paramedic. And not that he's like necessarily going crazy or anything like that. He's just very overworked, very tired. He's been on the overnight shift for a long time. So he's kind of draggy and a little, but then as the movie goes on and he starts experiencing more and more craziness over these nights that he's working, his brain just starts to go from burned out to mush. And he just starts to lose it. And I don't want to give away the ending or anything, but this is one of those movies that the unhinged, crazy Nick Cage performance works very well. And it's not really there a lot. He does a really good job of keeping it kind of toned down, but at the same time making the madness very real and very scary. And that's one last thing I'm going to talk about with this film, is the tone and what kind of influences it has. The movie is influenced by elements of horror. Nicolas Cage, as I said, is haunted by the ghosts of his past, and so that kind of adds a horror movie vibe to it. It's got a little bit of action thrown in there. It's got hospital drama thrown in there. I mean, this movie really is just, I mean, I don't know. I've never been an EMT, so I can't tell you if this is the way it is. But Scorsese, and, you know, he worked with ambulance drivers, did ride-alongs, so did Nick Cage, to kind of get an idea. So it really gives the movie a very good, authentic feel. And that's where I'm going to end it on. The acting is outstanding. The movie feels very authentic because of the research that went into it, and it gives you a completely different look on New York City. So if this film sounds like something that is right up your alley and you want to stream it right now, and you're a member of HBO Max, good news, you can watch it right now if you're a member of HBO Max. The rest of us are going to have to rent it. Well, not me. I own it on DVD because I found it at a Goodwill. But you can find it on all of your rental services. It's out there on Vudu, Google Movies, Amazon Prime, and what's the other one? YouTube. How did I forget YouTube? Okay, guys, that brings it to the end of another Film Geek video. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.